everyone, to the CANDU Sports Show. Got your host, Scott Blair, here for a special edition. After some encouragement from my partner, John Ray Bennett, we're going to give you a little Bears hot take. Over the weekend, we all saw that the Bears finally um, parted ways with their head coach, now ex-head coach, Matt Eberflus. So we're going to jump into that really quick, and I want to give you a couple of things to consider now that that has taken place. Before doing that, at the time of this recording, here the last weekend of November, we had a whole lot of wild exchanges after the game in different college football rivalries, whether it's North Carolina, NC State, of course, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida, Florida State. Coach Sark intervened to keep Texas from doing anything at Texas A&M, but we had a whole lot of that going on this past weekend. And then we got the Maryland coach talking all this nonsense with James Franklin. Like, just keep going, Maryland, keep it moving. But clearly, because all this happened this weekend and it was everywhere, unfortunately, we're getting to a point where now it's probably going to have to be regulated, and folks are going to have to be told you got to stop doing that because some of the stuff was just nuts. And it's just going to take one freak accident for all this to be put sideways. And I was thinking, as folks are kind of going back and forth with the flagpole and everything else, I'm like, God forbid somebody actually gets hit with this thing. Like, so hopefully that's done and over with. The whole college, I think storming of the field, all that stuff, I think that needs to be instituted out of the game. That's just me. Maybe it's the old timer in me. I don't know. And that's okay. You can say that. But this past weekend with some of that stuff, not a good look. So let's get to the Bears. Bears finally dumped Matt Eberflus. And for those of you who have been watching this show for since we started, quite frankly, you've heard me say on a number of occasions how it didn't make any sense for Eberflus to go back into this season based on what he had done the previous 2 years. And we're coming back to that, right? And part of it came from the complicated history of the Bears. Whenever they've had a first round draft pick go to a quarterback over the course of the last 8 years, Mitch Trubisky, lame duck coach with John Fox, should have got rid of John Fox, rebooted, you didn't. And then what happened? Justin Fields, same thing with Matt Nagy. And then we said, don't do it. Don't do it again with Caleb Williams. Ryan Poles even got all chesty on the Pat McAfee show when RG3 told him, don't do it. RG3 even told Caleb Williams' camp, force your way out of Chicago, force Chicago to trade the pick because of all this. And Ryan Poles got all chesty on the Pat McAfee show. Oh, we're breaking the cycle and all this stuff. Well, here we are. And what I would state is, again, why are we even here? And for those of you who are watching this current season, it's like, well, it's because of the time management issue. Y'all blew the game against Detroit on Thanksgiving, Green Bay, Minnesota, the Washington Hail Mary, those four. Well, the same thing happened last year. The Bears blew at least 3 games. Detroit again, a terrible loss against Denver, where Justin Fields looked amazing. Bears dropped 35 points and still lost. And then the Cleveland Browns game. I feel like there might be a fourth one, but definitely those 3. The Bears finished 7-10. Those 3 should have been wins. It was because, again, of Eberflus just malpractice, falling asleep at the wheel, as they say in the sports circles. And the Bears probably make the playoffs. And then what happens with Justin Fields and all that stuff too, right? But that was the case last year. And at the end of last year, Matt Eberflus was 10-24, if my math is correct, something like that. So, or 10-28. So you expected different results, right? Isn't that the Einstein quote about insanity? We shouldn't have even been in this situation, not to mention the fact you should always reboot when you're bringing in a new quarterback, right? So, shame on Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren for putting the Bears in this situation, because now you have a first year with Caleb Williams, where you could say, again, if it wasn't for coaching malpractice, this team is in contention. They should have beaten all 4 of those teams, Washington, Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota. And where are you? Instead of sitting 4-8, you're 8-4, maybe 9-3. Who knows what happens with the New England and the Arizona games if you didn't lose on that Hail Mary, all because of terrible coaching. You blew 2 years. Last year with Justin and this year with Caleb. The other thing too that I want to add is, again, we told you so, right? And I want to bring back that RG3 thing. I wish someone would ask Ryan Poles that question. Bring it back because a lot of us kind of called that out, and you just kind of looked at us and said we didn't know what we're talking about, and here we are. And actually, some of us, myself included, would say it's actually worse. This is actually worse than the Trubisky and Justin Fields thing because it's possible Caleb Williams is going to play for his third offensive coordinator going into year two. Three? What do you mean? Well, he started with Shane Waldron. Coach Brown is now the OC and the interim head coach. If a new head coach comes in, he might want to bring in his own people, which means three OCs. Now, I'm sure the Bears are going to try, if everything works out here with the last couple of games, Coach Brown goes back to an OC role and see if the head coach would allow that. But that's the kind of shenanigans that has also been a part of the Bears repertoire that unfortunately has got them into this cycle as well. Like, hire who you're going to hire. I think it's Mike Vrabel. That's who I would like to bring in, and let him decide. If he wants to keep Coach Brown, awesome. If not, then move on. But that shouldn't be a requirement. The last thing we want to bring up on this topic is, why did it take the Bears so long to make the decision? Now, I'm not saying you should have fired Eberflus after the game. I don't think that's appropriate. I think you wait. But Friday morning, they let him do an interview. And then 2 hours later, they dismiss him. What took you so long? What took you so long? There's also reports that the players absolutely erupted after the game and just unloaded on Eberflus. You know that. Why would you allow this to still be out there? Why wouldn't you have, like all the other organizations would have done, right? They would have made the decision Thursday night. First thing Friday, they bring him into the building. And before there's even an opportunity for him to do that interview at 9 a.m., it's done. News broke, it's over with. What took so long? Which is just another example of how inept this organization has shown itself to be, even with the new leadership of Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren. Now, maybe it comes out later that the reason it took so long is because of the McCaskies, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. But sleep on it, because this is a family that doesn't even want any cussing on the Hard Knocks video. So maybe that's a thing, but just pretty frustrating. So you hope that they're going to figure this out and they're going to hire the right person, because if not, this is just going to be a catastrophe of epic proportions, and it shouldn't be the case. Even with an awful offensive line and with some questionable moves at the defensive line position, you still are hanging tough against the best teams in the NFC in the midst of awful coaching. Just imagine if they would have got this right last offseason and brought in Jim Harbaugh, Bill Belichick. Vrabel was available then as well. Just wild. So from one Bears fan to all of Bears Nation, I feel you. It's hard, but we'll see what these next couple of weeks. And Ryan Poles, you got to get this right. We'll sign off for now. Stay tuned for our next episode. We'll break down the college football playoffs. It's going to be an interesting one, and especially the conference title games this upcoming weekend. CANDU Sports Show. Signing off. Peace.
Yeah.